Let's revisit that story from Nigeria. As an independent state, that country turned 65 years today. And the country's president made a very concerted argument today that as far as he's concerned, the economic crisis that the country has had to go through for the last 2 years, the worst of that crisis, he says, is pretty much over. And by some metrics, the numbers are heading in the right direction. Economic growth was around 4.2% in the second quarter. Headline inflation fell to a 3-year low of around 20.1% in the month of August. But unemployment is still problematic. Insecurity is still relatively high. So what exactly needs to be done to make the Nigerian state a lot better? Let's bring in the public affairs analyst Nelson Ekujumi. Mr. Nelson, thank you for your time this evening. So the president says, the worst has been over. And, he's making reference there to the painful economic reforms he had to implement starting in 2023. But what other policy changes are necessary to entrench these fragile economic gains that Nigerians are seeing now?
Well, thank you very much. I think the economic re-engineering by the present administration, like you all know, was a bitter and painful pill for the Nigerian economy to swallow. But the gains are already manifesting. For example, you talked about inflation, falling to about 21%. And if you go to our markets, the price of goods and services are, going down. And you look at the policies that the government has put in place. Take, for example, the tax law that will come into effect come January 2026, which is meant to widen, the tax nets and make life better for the ordinary citizens, because the tax law has a lot of rebates or benefits for the downtrodden, the poor of the poor. So the policies are one that were inevitable if we didn't want to, crash the economy. And most importantly, the subnationals, as we go forward in our 65 years of nationhood, the subnationals, by this I'm talking about the state government, need to key into the economic policies of the government to make the government economic policies manifest and affect the generality of the people. That is the most important thing to do for now. Right. But right now, we are on the right track, and the optics are looking very good. So we expect that the days ahead are better for us.
Let's talk about the tax reforms that you just mentioned there in a bit more detail, because they are a key pillar of his administration, with the goal of trying to raise non-oil tax to GDP ratios past 10%. I believe the most recent number that I saw was somewhere in the region of 8.8 to 9.2%, at least for this year. There's a major tax overhaul that happened at the end of June. Do you think they will actually help the country raise the proportion of non-oil revenues past that 10% figure that is so critical?
Well, we have seen investment in other sectors of the economy apart from oil. You talk about agriculture, for example. You're talking about mining. You're talking about telecommunications and what have you. We have seen massive investment in these areas. And you and I know very well that when you invest and you create the enabling environment for investors to come and put their money in the economy, definitely it means businesses are going to grow. And when those businesses grow, definitely the tax revenue for the government will also grow in, correspondingly. For now, you can see that our mining sector has made tremendous impact on our economy. You can see also that the issue of drainage on the public purse through the subsidy and forex regime is no longer there. So one expects that going forward, that the non-oil, contribution to the economy, to the GDP, will be more enlarged with the tax law that has been, revised, that has taken a lot of stakeholders' engagement, and everybody is in sync with it, because the new tax law come 2026 is meant to take more from those who have, and offer palliatives or offer a window for those who don't meet up to a threshold, to enjoy tax-free holidays.
One last question for you. The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association, Pengasan, they've been on strike for the last 72 hours. It's ended a little earlier today. They say they went on strike because the members who tried to unionize at the Dangote refinery were fired. Now, they've agreed to end the strike, but will these workers at the refinery be able to unionize?
Well, if you understand the terms of the agreement that was reached as a result of the resolution brokered by the federal government, you recognize that even Dangote Refinery has made it clear that those staff who were disengaged will be recalled and they will be posted to other, arms of the Dangote business conglomerate. So, order in our country, we're a country governed by laws, and our law makes it, important or mandatory, imperative on business owners as well as employees to respect the laws of the land. Any worker, any company under our industrial relations law, under the labor law in Nigeria, any organization that has about 50 workers, and above, is expected, to unionize on its own voluntarily by the workers. So Dangote Refinery cannot be an exception in, keeping to the terms of our laws. But with regards to this, the reason why Dangote Refinery disengaged them, the company gave us a lot of reasons. But that notwithstanding, one expects that other workers in the company or in the organization, if they want to unionize, is part of their fundamental rights as enshrined in our constitution, which gives you the right to freedom of association. So I don't expect that any other worker in that organization who wants to belong to a labor union will be, his employment will be terminated or he will lose the right to do so. We expect Dangote Refinery to keep to the laws, just as the same way we expect the employees themselves to obey the laws of the land, to keep to the rules and regulations governing the terms and conditions of service that they have entered into with their employer. So I expect that workers in Dangote Refinery or any other organization for that matter in Nigeria that falls within the threshold of what is required by the labor law will respect the laws of the land.
Indeed. We'll leave it there for the time being. Nelson Ekujumi, Public Affairs Analyst. Happy Independence Day to you and millions of other Nigerians.